Hello, my name is Lynn and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 3 of our cruise and we are here now at Charleston, South Carolina. As I woke up this morning, I noticed the sun just beginning to rise. I grabbed my camera and opened the curtain in my cabin. Through the glass door, I saw the calm waves of the ocean and the beautiful rising sun. Well, I couldn't let this pass without taking in the view from a better perspective. So what I did is I went out to the cabin balcony so that I can hear the calming waves and feel the fresh air and admire the glorious sun. I'm looking towards the forward of the ship or the front of the ship, and that bridge is the Ravenel Bridge. It is a suspension bridge that connects the city of Charleston to the town of Mount Pleasant in South Carolina, and it's over the Cooper River. We have a shore excursion today. The shore excursion is from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. That's why we decided to eat earlier and we went to deck 15 for breakfast. Look at that white big building. It is the United States Custom House. And look at those people exercising up and down the stairs. Breakfast at World Fresh Marketplace is open as early as 6 a.m. and runs through 11:30 a.m.
Before proceeding ashore, in addition to your medallion, please ensure that you have a government-issued picture ID with you when leaving the ship. U.S. Liquor Control Authority strictly prohibits any food and beverage items to be taken ashore.
Our meeting place for the shore excursion is the Princess Theater. So this is the place where everybody has to meet before we go to the gangway. And this is the place where people are reminded about our medallion and make sure that we have the right ticket. We have a code for our shore excursion. Different shore excursions has different codes. Make sure we're going to the right bus. So this is before going to the gangway and everybody has to check out. We have to scan using our medallion in checking out.
Well, welcome. You are in a very unique city. I'm not sure you realize how unique. The first settlers arrived in the early days of April 1670. And actually, this was a gift from a grateful King Charles II. You might remember his father, Charles I. I like to say he gave meaning to the term heads or roll. So it put his son's life in question, and it took a while, but in the 1660s, early 1660s, he is restored to the throne. And to show his appreciation, he gave 8 men that helped him back on the throne, Carolina, which is Latin for Charles, dealing with the port activities. And Charleston is a very active seaport these days. So it ranks in the top 10 to protect their old homes. I always like to say Charleston is a 21st century city in an 19th century mold. And kind of gives a plan up in upper South Carolina around Greenville. And this is where they channel, and it's supposedly the biggest export of automobiles in the city is through Charlestown. But they do it in dollar value, not numbers. Now we're on Calhoun Street. As you might imagine, it's actually named for John C. Calhoun, but there's a lot of calamity over him these days, so I'm not sure how much longer that's gonna remain. But coming up to our right, we'll have an old church, Emmanuel AME Church. Now, it's a black church, and it's probably more famous of recent by being the scene in June of 2015. A deranged young man went into the Bible study. The members of the church in the Bible study invited him in. And after about an hour, the young man took out a rifle and killed 9 members. You might remember that was a big episode. Yes, ma'am. Come, yeah, right here to your right. Emmanuel AME, God is with us. That's what that means. The young man, they did capture him, and he is supposedly sentenced to death in a prison in Indiana. But as of right now, no, they haven't carried it out yet. Our nickname is the Holy City, because we have a little over 400 churches downtown. Building in the city, and this is one of the higher points in the city too, by the way. Then we have the Manigault House. We're going to take a right here. This dates right about 1800. And Manigault was a French Protestant, and there was a big influx of French folks coming. Mainly French Protestants are what they called Huguenots. We like to say Huguenots. You remember the Hunley? And to escape the diseases, malaria was terrible. And then you had also other diseases, smallpox, yellow fever. It was, they like to call it stranger's fever, because it was generally the strangers who caught it. If you've been here a year and kind of got yourself acclimated, you probably were able to survive. But that first year or so was killed a lot of folks. I like this. It says warm cookies delivered. It's time to excuse me. Can we stop for a minute? Get those warm cookies. Oh yeah, you can see the always kind of a lot of bars in this area too, for that matter. At night, it really lights up. Yes. They initially called this the wagon trade area. But then you have the tallest church steeple in the city is to your right, St. Matthew's. Somewhere around 270, 280 feet. About 1860s is when they started building, 1870s after the Civil War. Sir? Yeah. Francis Marion was better known as the Swamp Fox, blending the old with the new and converting the old for a new purpose. Actually, the classrooms, and so you got a couple of buildings coming up here that date about 1850s. Now, most of these buildings will still be used by the college. Roughly the 1820s, 1824 is when it was established. And they moved here roughly in the early 1900s after the earthquake of 1886. Mid-1800s, this was a ammo dump. And you'll see this building coming up, the Piazzas. That just sounds more romantic, you just can't say a porch. Not in Charleston. And you can see the transition here of so many of the old buildings being converted to the new. There was one right about in this area here, right about here, dated about late 1870s, but it sold for about $603,000 in the early 2000s. They say the average cost here now is somewhere around $830,000 in this particular area. You go along the peninsula, the house has come up to this. Now, this is Johnson Haygood. Now, the original, the first stadium was in the 1940s. They've repaired it a good number of times since, and roughly in the late 1990s, they were doing some repair work, and they found, and supposedly, when they built the stadium, they moved the bodies, but all they did was move the tombstones. The bodies themselves remained buried. And after then, Nancy Mace was really the first graduate, and Nancy Mace is our present congresswoman. Her father went, and she stood up for it quite well. She's done. ROTC scholarship that requires that at the completion of their academic career. Oh, that looks like that's some kind of physical activity going on there. All that line up there. The porches are referred to as piazzas. We do not call them porches. I mean, this is Charleston. You don't say things like that. And the main entrance is really about halfway down the piazza. If you go into the piazza, you generally enter into a hall, and there's one room on either side of the hall. Two rooms per floor, and generally 3 rooms per house, so 6 rooms per house. And what we consider main house today, a lot of times, the function of those rooms are provided by support buildings, like kitchen, like carriage houses and such. Second oldest Jewish synagogue in America is here at Charleston, off of Hazel Street. But this one came about, 2 congregations combined and built this about the 1950s. And a couple of months after they moved, the building burned under mysterious circumstances. I still have not heard of any conclusions as to how it happened. Roughly late 1800s for Consolidated's wealth. The second was to expand his family. And one of the strange things about this, about 2 weeks before the fire insurance lapsed. And they forgot, they were in the process of trying to change it from the northern company to a southern company. And they were kind of lax in that. And so left front, then your right front will be the law of God. City, state, federal, and God. The old exchange. George Washington stood on those steps in 1791 when he was welcomed here to the city. And I worked part-time there as a dungeon master. It's a replica of what they think the earlier building looked like. This one dates roughly in the late 90s. Kind of a great form. The circle kind of represents a wholeness. And in so much of our country, where the gathering there started singing too. Amazing Grace.
Well, after the tour, it was a nice tour. It's 2 hours, a bus tour. We came back at 12 noon. We ate and then decided we still have time to go around again. So we went back, this time walking from the ship, and found all these nice souvenirs in the market. There is a small museum on the 2nd floor of the market. We did not go there. The ship is not very far to the market. We still have a lot of time before we go back to the ship, but that's okay. Let's go back. As soon as we arrived in the ship, my husband went to his favorite place, and that is where he got his French fries. We both love spending time on the open deck, especially when the ship is arriving or departing from the port. Everybody should be back on board by 9:30 p.m.